moves. Anyway, weather-wise, southeast 8 knots this morning. Visibility is pretty darn good. It's about 6,000 meters, but it's going to be dropping down to about 3,000 meters late today. Cloud base is 900 meters at about 3,000 feet. So I'm thinking of helicopter operations. Not all that great. They'll see you coming for sure visually as opposed to electronic countermeasures. But that would be my choice. Get them in there. Get this ship out. So here you go. Bandar Abbas, the next hotspot.
Oh, and I do apologize, folks. I've just read the message that streaming was not on. I clicked it again. It still didn't come on, but I think it is on now. So you have just missed the weather. What can we tell you? Just a couple of items at the end of the weather. There is another heat wave in Europe coming. There's what they call a high-pressure dome over the area. Bordeaux yesterday got 41 degrees. I hope that didn't do the grapes ill. The forecast for Paris tomorrow is 42 degrees, which would break their record, which was set in 1947. The London forecast may in fact beat their record, which is I think 38.1. So there is an awful lot going on. I tell you what I will do, seeing as I missed the hitting the button for the streaming correctly. We were reading something like, oh, that's right, we were reading about the weather in the Middle East. But anyway, I will just give you an update of the news for what it is when we are finished, if you want to keep listening. And that's about it from me, except if you had been listening to me in 1945, which would have been difficult because I wasn't actually born then, but researchers have found that women now have deeper voices. They have been studying recordings in 1945 and 1990, and it shows that white educated women, yours truly, have dropped on average their vocal cords by 23 hertz. This is significant. They've looked at all the possible causes of this. They decided, well, maybe it was the pill that had changed hormone levels, but they eliminated all the people that were on the pill. And then they have just decided that this is very significant. It's quite true. Our voices are now 23 hertz below what they were in 1945. So you can draw your own conclusions to that. One of the ones that they drew was that it made us sound more authoritative. So there, David, I'm looking at. Not sure that it has any effect in this household, but that's the possibility there, that it makes you sound more authoritative. And 23 evidently kilohertz is something, or 23 hertz is something that you can actually know and hear and distinguish. So there you are. All right, I'm just going to do a quick, well, I think I'll wait till later. Maybe the conditions will be better to try and talk to Tuaki and anybody else. So I will pass the microphone and then I will come back and I will review the weather, oh gosh, I'm just looking outside. It's really foggy here now. You can hardly see across the road. All right, here's David.
So you can tell she's the boss, right? Deeper voice, giving orders like this.
23 minutes. Wow.
Well, that is a difference in frequency and whatnot. Well, good morning, everybody. First, we're going to look at 500 millibar. And we've talked about that for a few days now. Shortwave trough, just west of New Zealand. And that is followed by a 500 ridge that's in the western Tasman. Now, just southeast of New Zealand, we have a closed-off ridge that's at 500 millibar, and it's supporting the blocking surface high that is directly underneath. So you get a closed-off ridge, you just have circular iso heights, and under that is our high spinning around, and that's the one that's been very, very strong, but and it's been with us for a number of days now. Central pressure, though, 1032 millibar, 1032. It sprung a bit of a leak as the pressure was 1038 yesterday, so a little bit of a change there. Now, just to the right of the shortwave trough axis, just to the east of the axis, we have a surface depression. This one formed yesterday. We talked about it for a few minutes, and it is slowly heading to New Zealand. And again, as a review, on a short wave, you find the axis, you look to the right of it, and on the surface, that's typically where we have our surface depressions forming, or troughs, or something to that effect. Now, for those on passage to Tonga, a few of the boats that have left, they are going to experience southwest winds in the 15 knot range at about 30 south. Tomorrow, the area falls pretty much under cyclonic circulation due to the area of the depression getting bigger and bigger. And then, unfortunately, we're going to have some headwinds at 25 south. And then above that, north of that, they'll turn into easterlies. Now, if you're caught up in this, you can call and then that's over if you need more detail on that. But that's the general idea of what's happening. Up in the tropics now, the same old Solomon's Trough runs right across the Santa Cruz Islands and then on to Rotuma, north of Fiji there. It goes on to Wallis and Futuna, the area of Wallis and Futuna, and then Samoa, and onward from there. The Tokelau Trough, we mentioned yesterday, still active, as is the trough over the northern Cooks. So that not much of a change there. And we have a warm front that lies over the Louisiades for a few of the yachts that have left northern Australia to head up to the Louisiades there. And also yesterday's quasi-stationary front that we talked about lies over the banks in Vanuatu. Then it goes southeast from there to Fiji and then bends a little bit to northern Tonga. So Wallis, that continues wet today with showers on and off, actually right through Sunday, I think. Winds about 10 to 15, mostly easterlies, right through Friday, getting up to about 20 knots at times. So dull and gray for Wallis, I'm afraid, for the next few days, and about the same conditions for Samoa as well. This little pesky trough that we have continues to annoy everyone in that particular area. So moving south to Tonga, that weak trough that's present affects mostly the New Potatoes area, Nui to Patapu, with cloud extending from there down to Vavau, and the Hawaiis. Skies are broken over Tongatapu, so a little bit less effect that far south. Now, this will change as the quasi-stationary front moves to affect the group by Friday. That'll lift. That'll head more toward the equator, so that will put it over the main part of Tonga. Wind southerly quadrant today, give or take. When I say southerly quadrant, I think you understand what I'm saying there. Anyhow, for the whole group, that'll wind up shifting to the east-southeast into late Friday, Saturday. We've got 10 to 15 knots today, 15 to 20 on Friday, and, well, expect Friday and Saturday to be somewhat wet, as we said. Scattered showers, some will be pretty heavy on Saturday, it looks like. And I'll give you a few actuals. These around 4 a.m. Yep, they look like came in around 4 a.m. Vavau calm, scattered 10:15. Hawaiis also calm, scattered cloud 10:15 as well in the barometer. And Tongatapu south at 4, broken, and 10:16. That's Tonga, so we'll go over to Fiji now, where the trough main activity, as we said, is pretty much over Rotuma, but cloud does lie over the main group as well. If you were to draw a horizontal line across northern Viti Levu to the central Lao, the area north of that imaginary line should see fresh winds by lunch. I'd say getting up to 20 knots. Now, some areas might even get up to about 25, as an example of that 2-year pass. Now, south of this line, the winds are lighter, still southeast, but they'll be in the 15 knot range. And tomorrow, most of the group could expect southeasterlies, and they'll get up to about 20 knots at times. Now, by Saturday, the group should see a fair bit of showers. So you unfortunately have that to look forward to. On radar this morning, scattered showers are quite evident over, well, a few areas over the southern Usawas, the Nassori area, Savu Savu to Taveuni. You'll see returns, and returns also really scattered about the rest of the group. Quite light, they come, they go, that sort of thing. A few actuals this morning. Undue Point, southeast 17. Wind's getting up a bit, 10-14 on the barometer. Northern Usawas, southeast 16, 10-14 barometer. Vanua Balabu, southeast 15 and 10-18 millibar. Nandi, east-southeast 6, 10-14. Nassori, on the other side, south-southeast only 6 and 10-16 millibar. Matuku, down to the south there, and between the southern Lao and Kendevu, south-southeast 5 and barometer 10-15. Ono, which is in the Kendevu area, south-southeast 8 and barometer 1017. Okay, Vanuatu on imagery shows up mostly fair skies mixed with scattered cloud. Winds southeast 10-15, favoring 15 knots a little bit later in the day, I think. Friday picks up a bit, 15-20, and that will be southeast to east-southeast. However, fairly light air for Tanna down to Anishim. It won't be that strong. We'll look at a few actuals. Sola, east-southeast 10 and 10-13 millibars. Santo, south-southeast 7, 10-13 millibar. Fate, east 3, 10-14. And Tanna was calm, also 10-14. And Anishim, south-southeast 6. And a little bit of increase in pressure, 10-16 millibar. And then lastly, New Caledonia looks pretty good on imagery, mostly fair. There is scattered cloud about. By lunch, I would just simply say partly cloudy. Southeast about 10 for the southern lagoon. Tomorrow, quite fair. Light air, variable to southeasterlies, less than 10 knots, I would say. So tomorrow looks excellent for getting out to the lagoon. Saturday, east-southeast 10-15, might see some scattered showers. The outer reef this morning, southeast 8-14 knots. Ile de Pan, southerlies 8 knots, roughly 8 knots. And Noumea, northeast 5-10 knots. And radar does show quite a few scattered showers over the outer reef and the loyalties as well. So that's the story for Newcal. And we gave you the weather in Bandar Abbas. So we'll see what happens there. I know what I would do. Here's the chief, the boss, with a lower pitch voice.
Way down low. Okay, we have heard from Pilgrim. Good morning to Ron and Cheryl. Evidently, a few people are going to be looking at going from, they're at Malolo at the moment, from Fiji to Vanuatu next week or early August. So could you put that on your list, please? Don't forget that we are actually not going to be here in August. Me and my fractured ankle are heading away. So we will be off air. David will be available for any emails because he'll be here. That will keep him out of mischief. But we will not be on the radio as of the Friday of next week. So David will need to cover the trip. You'll probably want some nice mellow trades to get from Fiji to Vanuatu. Would be useful to know what part of Vanuatu you guys are all thinking of going to, because it's quite different to get down to Anisham, Anatom, or go to Luganville or wherever. So give us an idea of exactly where you are going, because it's really spread out, and that makes quite a difference. Okay, is there anybody with any question? Please call now.
Nothing.
Any relay with anything? I hate to leave the gap too long, but evidently I'm not leaving it long enough, but we certainly cannot hear anything here. So unless you really speak up, have your volume up high, you're not going to break through my lovely power noise here. Okay, if that's it, I am going to keep streaming on in case anybody is at all interested in an update of the news, because I didn't have it on before because I failed to click it on correctly. So I will stop broadcasting now on the radio. You've heard it all. And I will continue on streaming for the few that are still there. And we will be back again tomorrow, same time, same place. I'll just do one more call for Tuaki, Gulf Harbour Radio. I'm sure if anybody heard anything, you would call relay, but nothing here. It's actually been very difficult to the west. We went through a period of time where when Alan on Contessa was way west, that it was booming in, but not at the moment. At this time of year, of course, things change quite quickly. Interestingly enough, on 20 metres, it's been relatively good, but certainly not down here on 8. Okay, cheers, folks. The frequency's all yours, and I'm just going to continue on streaming. Cheers. Okay. Sorry about that, folks that are on streaming, but if you do want to have an update of the news, it is not all that exciting, I have to say. But what we found interesting was Aridonna, that's Heather and Carl, who some of you may know. They are currently in Bergen, moaning about the 14 degrees of a high, believe it or not, in Bergen, Norway. But there is a heat wave coming in the weekend, so that will cheer them up a bit. But they mentioned that when they go shopping, you hardly ever see beef in the shops. The options are reindeer, whale meat, and fish pudding. So I'm not sure what the fish pudding is all about. But anyway, we asked them what the whale meat tasted like, and they said it's not at all like the seafood. It tastes stronger than beef, more like venison, very lean and very tasty. So there you are. It will shave you having to taste it. Another interesting thing for me as a woman, might not be all that interesting to some of you guys, but 4 years ago, the US military, they opened up all combat roles to women, and at least 30 have graduated as Rangers, 2 have graduated as Marine Infantry, despite the fact that the Marine Corps tried to keep them out, but they were overruled by the powers higher than the Marine Corps. And 3 are in training for the Green Berets. So they have decided to have a study to have a look at how come these hyper-fit women can cope with all of this incredible training. The Rangers is incredibly grueling. It's a 9-week course that covers water survival, long marching with heavy packs, extreme mental, psychological and leadership testing. So they're now putting them through this training or testing program. During the training, they're looking at how many mils of oxygen per kilogram body weight per minute of exercise, and looking at calcium and iron in their blood, looking at bone density scans and various written tests that they have to do, sort of psychological things. So, yeah, quite interesting. But they don't look, these people don't look brawny. They are, well, I would say almost bordering on the skinny side. Going on to the Russians and the Chinese, I mentioned yesterday that the Russians had been fired upon by the South Korean Air Force because they had infringed their airspace, but evidently the Russians and Chinese are carrying out their first joint venture air patrol in the Asia-Pacific region. So this is what triggered the response from South Korea yesterday, and also Japan, because they infringed on their airspace too. It's a bit of a worrying thing that the Russians and the Chinese are getting together, but there you are. That's what we have to deal with in the future. Maybe not in my lifetime, but possibly in yours. For those Kiwis out there listening, there are no vessels allowed into Napier Port at the moment. Yesterday they had incredibly high swells, 4-metre swells. The ships were told to leave, go outside and anchor somewhere and wait till after the weekend, because it's quite dangerous around the Napier area at the moment. Marine Parade has absolutely been drenched. It's quite exciting for people. You know how people go down and watch something like that. So they're getting drenched in water as it cascades up. It's quite spectacular. The Iran thing is ticking on, a little bit of a time bomb there. President Rouhani has hinted that he will swap the tanker seized by Britain in Gibraltar last week with the one that Iran seized a few days ago in Iran. So not sure Boris will be thinking that that's a good idea. Now, the papers, of course, are, excuse me a minute, full of what Bojo, as they're calling him, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, will do with the Iran situation as well as the Brexit situation. But they're expected to come up with something in the near future, and that will be hopefully after I have passed through Dubai next weekend. All right, they're expecting that Bojo will be more like Mr. Trump than Mr. Churchill. That's his ideas at the moment. He wants to be like Mr. Churchill, but he's certainly got the hairstyle of a Mr. Trump, so who knows? All right, what else have we got here? There's nothing too much more. I've commented about Ukraine. You sort of think of Ukraine and all you can think of is the men around the world that seem to lead all of the prostitution and drug running and all the rest of it. But evidently the people of Ukraine are fed up with their millionaire politicians who are incredibly corrupt. They've just had an election, and they have continued the trend that has started throughout the world of electing non-politicians. So they have elected a most definitely non-political party. They have got a party called, what is it called? Servant of the People. They've elected a fitness director, a wedding photographer, an anesthesiologist, 12 people who haven't actually got any full-time job at all. They're led by a comedian, President Zelensky. He's going to be leading their first anti-establishment government that they have had. So there you are. There is the power of the people. They have got a majority, so we'll wait and see what happens. Now, if you have considered that I am sounding a little bit deeper than your mother sounds, they have done a study of women's voices in 1945. They've looked at all the people that were actually recorded, women's voices in 1945, and compared them with those recorded in 1990. And they have shown that white educated women have dropped their average frequency of their voices by 23 hertz. And evidently that's quite significant. You can pick up 23 hertz. So that's quite significant. They're trying to work out what has caused the drop in the women's voices. They thought at first it might have been the effect of the pill, but they dropped all those people out and found that it was still significantly different, 23 hertz different, and it might be more to do with the fact that if you have a lower voice, you might be given more attention. I'm not sure that that's the case. It certainly isn't the case in this household. All right, that's about it from me. We still have a couple of you listening, 4 of you listening, so good morning to you all, and we will be back again tomorrow, and tomorrow I will hopefully carefully check that I am recording. It looked like it was. I have the recording computer behind me, so I don't actually see it, and then the one that I look at your comments on is in front, but then if I'm talking and reading the news as I was, I didn't check it, so sorry about that, folks. Some of you, John particularly on Exocet Strike, did try and get in touch with me with email and on here, and I missed it all, but apologies. We shall be back carefully checking tomorrow. You guys have a good day, and we'll catch up on emails today. Oh, and by the way, thank you, Worcester. I'm not probably going to have a quick recovery. I have to wear this confounded moon boot for 6 weeks. Those that don't know, I had a crash and burn using my new progressive glasses, going down steps at the supermarket, knocked myself out at the bottom, smashed both my ankles, and I have a fracture in the, what is it called, the medial malleosa, which is the bone at the bottom of the tibia. So I have to have a moon boot on, which is going to be a pain in the neck travelling, particularly by yourself. But anyway, at least I can go and can hop around and hopefully still enjoy myself. So that's next week. We'll be finishing off next week here for a month. Cheers, everybody. Have a good day. I shall now endeavour to turn this off properly.